not a sponsored video. This is purely for knowledge and storytelling.
Can a single jar of Nutella really be connected to the destruction of a rainforest? Sounds crazy, right? But this isn't just a crazy story. Nutella was born because cocoa became scarce and expensive after World War II. It's a breakfast favorite for millions of people, but is it really as nutritious as people think? And while you're enjoying that sweet, creamy spread, there are probably many things about Nutella you never knew. So stay until the end, because we're going back to the beginning to uncover the real story behind Nutella. Let's go back to 1946, to Alba in Piedmont, Italy. After World War II, cocoa was extremely scarce and chocolate had become expensive. For many people, buying chocolate was difficult. But their love for chocolate hadn't disappeared. Pietro Ferrero, a pastry maker in Alba, was looking for a way to make a chocolate-like product that ordinary people could afford. Around Alba, hazelnuts were abundant, much easier to obtain, and cheaper than cocoa. So Ferrero used hazelnuts, sugar, and a small amount of cocoa to create a new sweet paste. In 1946, the ancestor of Nutella was born. It was called Giandujo, and it looked nothing like the Nutella we know today. Giandujo wasn't a creamy spread in a jar. It was a solid loaf wrapped in aluminum foil. People had to cut slices from it and put them on bread. But there was a problem. In warmer weather, the solid product wasn't very convenient, so Ferrero needed something smoother and easier to spread. In 1951, Giandujo was transformed into a creamy product called super crema, and this is where Pietro Ferrero's wife, Piera, becomes part of the story. Piera helped run the pastry shop and gave feedback while Pietro developed new products. After his death, she also played an important role in the family business. Super crema was a major step forward. It was much easier to spread, and it became the foundation for what would eventually become Nutella. After Pietro Ferrero, the business continued under the family. His son, Michel Ferrero, took the product even further. Michel improved the recipe and developed a version that was smoother, more stable, and easier to produce on a larger scale. Then, in 1964, the first jar of Nutella was created. The name was simple. Nut came from the hazelnuts that were an important part of the recipe, while Ella gave the name a softer Italian-style ending. And in 1965, the iconic Nutella jar was launched in Germany. From there, Nutella began spreading across Europe and then around the world. Germany came first. France followed in 1966, and later came the UK, the USA, and many other countries. Today, Nutella is sold in around 170 countries, and the scale is enormous. Ferrero's current information puts Nutella production at around 500,000 tons a year. Millions of jars are produced and sold. A widely reported figure is one jar sold about every 2.5 seconds. Historically, Ferrero has also been reported to use roughly a quarter of the world's hazelnut supply for Nutella. And the fans became so passionate that Nutella even got its own special day. On February 5, 2007, Italian-American blogger Sarah Rosso created World Nutella Day. But behind all that success, another story was beginning. And this one is much darker. Palm oil became an important part of Nutella's recipe. Palm oil itself isn't automatically bad. The bigger problem is how and where it is produced. As demand for palm oil increased, large areas of tropical forest in countries such as Indonesia and Malaysia were cleared in some places to create oil palm plantations. And when forests disappear, wildlife loses its natural habitat. Nutella isn't responsible for all of this. Palm oil is used in thousands of products around the world. But Nutella is produced on a huge scale, so its demand for palm oil is part of this much bigger supply chain. Environmental groups, including Greenpeace and Rainforest Action Network, have investigated palm oil supply chains and raised concerns about deforestation and habitat destruction in places such as Borneo and Sumatra. And the consequences can be serious. The IUCN says palm oil production affects at least 193 threatened species. On Borneo, at least 50% of deforestation between 2005 and 2015 was related to oil palm development. Orangutans are one of the best-known victims. The IUCN estimates that around 10,000 Bornean orangutans are found in areas allocated to oil palm, and roughly 750 to 1,250 are killed every year in human-orangutan conflicts, often linked to expanding agriculture. And it isn't only orangutans. Sumatran tigers, Sumatran rhinos, Tapanuli orangutans, Asian elephants, clouded leopards, proboscis monkeys, and sun bears are also threatened by habitat loss. Forest destruction can affect people, too. When forests and peatlands are cleared or burned, large amounts of carbon dioxide can be released. Peat fires can create severe smoke and air pollution, causing respiratory problems and affecting people living nearby. So the damage isn't only about animals. It can affect forests, the climate, and the air people breathe. But there is another side to this story. Ferrero says it has worked for years to improve its palm oil supply chain. Since 2015, Ferrero says it has sourced 100% RSPO-certified segregated palm oil, and it has worked toward traceability back to plantations. Ferrero also says it uses satellite monitoring to identify deforestation risks across its supply chain. So saying Nutella destroys rainforests is too simple. The real issue is whether the entire supply chain can remain free from deforestation and other environmental damage. And that debate is still continuing. Now let's look inside the jar. Nutella is often presented as a breakfast food, but how nutritious is it? The current ingredient list starts with sugar, followed by palm oil. Hazelnuts make up 13%, skimmed milk powder 8.7%, and fat-reduced cocoa 7.4%. Per 100 grams, Nutella contains about 56.3 grams of sugar and 30.9 grams of fat. A standard 15-gram serving contains about 8.4 grams of sugar, so despite the name hazelnut spread, hazelnuts make up only a relatively small part of the product. That doesn't make Nutella poison, and it doesn't mean you can never eat it. But it also isn't a superfood. It's a sweet spread that is better enjoyed in moderation rather than treated as a highly nutritious breakfast. So Nutella started as a clever solution to a cocoa shortage after World War II. It went from giandujo to super crema and finally to the Nutella we know today. But behind that sweet taste is also a bigger story about palm oil, forests, wildlife, and nutrition. So the next time you open a jar of Nutella, you'll know there's much more behind it than just a sweet spread. What do you think about Nutella? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more surprising food stories, stay with Tale of the Taste. See you in the next episode.